Throughout this course, we've worked with our trusted companion Copilot to help us solve various mysteries throughout Microsoft Fabric with amazing speed. But what about our trusty partner? What secrets does Copilot have? What background information do we still need to uncover? Welcome, detectives. My name is Jason Richards, Microsoft Technical Trainer and Data Detective. Together, we'll investigate the curious case of the Copilot clues, exploring how Copilot consumption, scaling strategy, and governance choices can either crack the case wide open or leave you chasing red herrings. By the end, you won't just know how Copilot works in Fabric, you'll have a better understanding of how to work best with your Copilot as a trusted assistant in Microsoft Fabric. We'll dive into how Copilot works behind the scenes, from how it processes prompts to how it integrates with Azure OpenAI. We'll look at what's required to enable Copilot, including capacity prerequisites and tenant level settings. We'll also walk through how Copilot consumes capacity units, so you know how usage is billed and how to keep your environment running smoothly. Finally, we'll cover the best practices for scaling Copilot responsibly, ensuring your organization can adopt AI at the right pace while maintaining performance, governance, and cost control. Copilot in Microsoft Fabric operates through a structured, multi-step flow that you should understand before using it at scale. You can follow the trail of clues of how a simple prompt becomes a governed AI response by moving through pre-processing, grounding, model execution, and post-processing. Copilot assists by combining your prompt with authentication context, session history, and system metadata, ensuring every response is user-specific and permission-aware. This design keeps outputs relevant while aligning with enterprise security and compliance expectations. During pre-processing, Copilot performs grounding, which is where investigative work really pays off. You benefit from Copilot enriching the prompt with metadata such as lakehouse schemas, semantic model details, workspace artifacts, and prior chat context. Copilot only accesses data that you're authorized to see, helping you trace how answers are formed without exposing sensitive information. Recognizing what data can and cannot be grounded explains why responses vary between users. Once prepared, Copilot sends the finalized prompt to Azure OpenAI through Microsoft Managed Infrastructure. Copilot assists by abstracting model selection and configuration, so you don't manage large language model tuning directly. The model generates a response that may include natural language, code, or metadata, but results remain non-deterministic. Treat every output as a lead, not as a verdict, and validate results before acting on them. After generation, Copilot applies post-processing steps such as responsible AI filtering and experience-specific formatting. Copilot assists by removing or adjusting content that may violate policy or quality thresholds before returning the final output to you. This stage reinforces that Copilot accelerates analysis, but does not replace professional judgment, which is a core principle you should reinforce with end users. Before using Copilot, your organization must enable it through Fabric Capacity Configuration. Copilot assists only when your tenant runs on a paid Fabric SKU of F2 or higher, and it must be enabled by an administrator in the Fabric admin portal. Copilot is not supported on trial SKUs, so ensure your investigation starts with the right capacity foundation. Also note that Copilot is not enabled by default in many regions, and if enabled, data can be processed outside that region, which may violate regulatory policies. Administrators can designate a Fabric Copilot capacity to centralize Copilot usage and billing. Copilot assists by allowing users to access AI features even when their reports or artifacts are not hosted on premium capacities. This is a way to simplify governance, reduce capacity sprawl, and clearly attribute Copilot consumption without forcing content migration. Once an eligible capacity is defined, admins can define via security groups who can access it. Each user can only be linked to one capacity. Copilot in Fabric uses a token-based consumption model tied directly to capacity units. Copilot assists by translating input and output tokens into CU seconds, which are smoothed over time as background jobs. You calculate impact as shown, and by understanding that output tokens consume significantly more CU than input tokens, making prompt efficiency a measurable optimization strategy. Monitoring Copilot usage is essential to avoid throttling and capacity exhaustion. Copilot assists indirectly through integration with the Fabric Capacity Metrics app, where you can observe trends and detect abnormal spikes. Treat these metrics as evidence, using them to anticipate scaling needs and protect business-critical workloads. Once a capacity unit is exhausted, all Fabric operations, not just Copilot, will shut down until more becomes available. Data residency and privacy controls define where Copilot processes information. Copilot assists by keeping data within your tenant's geographic region by default and by ensuring customer data is never used to train models. Enabling cross-region processing allows broader availability, but may move data outside compliance boundaries, making this a deliberate governance decision rather than a default setting. Scaling Copilot effectively requires both technical planning and user discipline. Copilot assists best when access is rolled out gradually. Capacity is scaled proactively or reactively based on evidence, and heavy usage is isolated into dedicated capacities when needed. When starting up and scaling out, consider starting small. Plan for growth and monitor, monitor, monitor. Balance cost, performance, and governance by continuously reviewing usage patterns, refining training, and treating scaling as an ongoing investigation rather than a one-time setup. Educate your team on how to best use investigative skills with Copilot as their assistant for more optimal performance. As we close the curious case of the Copilot clues, you've seen that solving analytics mysteries in Microsoft Fabric isn't about magic, it's about method. You now better understand how Copilot pre-processes and grounds your prompts with the right metadata, executes securely through Azure OpenAI, and post-processes responsibly so insights stay relevant, compliant, and actionable. You've learned what it takes to enable Copilot correctly with the right Fabric capacity, how consumption maps to capacity units, and why prompt efficiency, monitoring, and governance are the real detective tools that keep performance high and cost predictable as you scale. And like any good investigation, we emphasize judgment, treating Copilot outputs as leads to validate, not verdicts to blindly trust, while planning data residency and scaling strategies that fit your organization's compliance and growth goals. So as you head back into your own analytics crime scenes, remember the best detectives don't just ask better questions, they watch the evidence trail, manage the budget, and know when to call for backup capacity. Thanks for joining.